Hello everyone. Welcome back to Learn in 5 Minutes, your go-to channel for quick and powerful Excel tips and tricks. Today, we'll explore the indirect function, a unique tool in Excel that helps you create dynamic references. Whether you're building dashboards, working with multiple sheets, or simplifying formula maintenance, indirect can make your work much easier. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to use this function effectively and learn some practical examples to apply in your work. So let's get started. What is the indirect function and why use it? Let's begin with the basics. The indirect function returns the value of a cell reference specified as text. Instead of directly referencing a cell or range, we can use this function to dynamically create references based on other inputs. This can be useful because 1. It allows you to change cell references on the fly without editing formulas. 2. It's great for referencing data across multiple sheets dynamically. And 3. It simplifies working with named ranges and dynamic ranges. For example, we could create a formula that automatically updates based on user input or drop-down selection. So, first thing first, let's look at the syntax of the indirect function. So you can see here that indirect function has one mandatory and one optional argument. Let's understand them one by one. Ref_text, this is the reference you want to evaluate. It can be a cell reference, a named range, or even a text string. Into box bracket A1, this is an optional argument. If set to true or omitted, the reference is in A1 style. If false, it's in R1C1 style. Now what are these two styles? I'll explain you in a bit, but before that, let's try out this formula. In cell A1, let's type B2. Then in cell C1, we'll enter the formula equals indirect open parenthesis A1 close parenthesis. Once we press enter, you'll notice something interesting. Since our reference in cell A1 is B2, the indirect function interprets this as pointing to cell B2. Now, because cell B2 is currently empty, we get a value of 0 in cell C1, as Excel treats empty cells as zeros. Let's change that. I'll type the text hello in cell B2. Notice how cell C1 now instantly updates to display the value hello. This demonstrates the power of the indirect function. It dynamically redirects to the cell referenced in A1 and pulls in its content. Pretty cool, right? Now let's come back to the optional argument A1. The A1 argument in the indirect function controls how Excel interprets the reference in ref_text. Let's break this down. The A1 style, which is the default one, is the one we all are most familiar with, where columns are labeled with letters, for example, A, B, C, and rows are labeled with numbers, for example, 1, 2, 3. For example, A1 refers to the cell in column A, row 1. The R1C1 style is an alternate reference style where both rows and columns are numbers. For example, R2C3 refers to the cell in the second row and third column, which is equivalent to C2. So, how the A1 argument works is, if we set it to true or omit it, Excel will interpret the ref_text in A1 style. And if we set it as false, then Excel will interpret the ref_text in R1C1 style. Let's understand this with an example in cell A2. Let's type R2C2, and in cell C2, let's write the formula equals indirect open parentheses A2, comma, false, close parentheses, press enter. We can see that this formula also resulted in value hello. Now, let's understand how this worked. Since A2 contains R2C2, this means 2 rows down, which means 2 and 2 columns, which means B. Hence, this returns B2. And B2 contains value hello. And same has been returned by your formula. So our first formula was A1 style. Although we have not mentioned true as the second argument, but if omitted, true is considered by default. So this is how we use the second optional argument. Now the question is, why someone would use this complex R1C1 style when you can just simply refer the cell? So let me tell you that this can be useful when working with VBA or macros, where references are programmatically generated. It can also be useful when handling data from systems or exports that default to R1C1 format. Now let's see how to create dynamic ranges. Suppose you have data in columns named sales_Q1, sales_Q2, etc. In cell A3, type the name of the range you want to reference. For example, sales underscore Q1. In cell C3, we can write the formula equals sum, open parentheses, indirect, open parentheses, A3, close parentheses, press enter, and we can see that we have sum of cell range from G1 till G7, which we had named as sales underscore Q1. This has summed the values of the range specified in A3. Now let's see the practical use case for referencing data from multiple sheets. Imagine you have two sheets named Jan and Feb, each with a total sales figure in cell A2. In cell A4, let's type the sheet name, example, Jan. In cell C4, let's enter the formula equals indirect, open parentheses, open double quotes, single quote, close double quotes, ampersand, A4, ampersand, open double quotes, single quote, exclamation sign, A2, close double quotes, close parentheses. This formula dynamically references the A2 cell of the sheet specified in A4. Make sure to use single quotes around the sheet name in case it contains spaces or special characters. Now let's move to a bit advanced situation where we'll combine indirect with dropdown list. We'll create a dropdown list in cell A5 using data validation with range names, that is list 1 and list 2. We can also use sheet names and change our formula accordingly. For simplicity, I'm using the named range. Next, we'll use indirect to dynamically pull data based on the selection. Let's write the formula in cell C5 equals Vlookup, open parentheses, 1001, comma, indirect, open parentheses, A5, close parentheses, comma, 2, comma, false, close parentheses, press enter. In this case, the table reference changes based on the drop-down value in A5. By now, you would be finding indirect a powerful function, but there are a few limitations to this. This is a volatile function. It recalculates every time the worksheet changes, which can slow down large workbooks, and it is difficult to debug. If the reference text is incorrect, it returns a href error. To avoid issues, always verify your reference text and use indirect sparingly in large data sets. And there you have it. The indirect function is a versatile tool that simplifies dynamic referencing in Excel. From dynamic ranges to multi-sheet references, it can save you time and effort while making your formulas more flexible. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your colleagues, and subscribe to Learn in 5 minutes for more quick and effective Excel tutorials. Got questions or suggestions for future topics? Drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.